pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all of those of us who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Noon.
Here.
Mayor Samaras. Here. Counsel Cirillo.
Here.
Counsel Conway.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
That's 9 present.
Council Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could I have a moment of silence for Ronald M. Stu Mulligan? Ronald M. Stu Mulligan, 63 of Lowell, passed away Thursday, February 1st at Mass General Hospital in Boston after a brief illness. Born in Lowell, he was the son of the late Edward F. and Marie Mulligan. He graduated from Lowell High in the class of 72. He proudly served with the U.S. Air Force and with the U.S. Navy during the 1970s. Ronald retired from the Lowell Post Office in 2009. After his retirement, he worked at the Rite Aid in Tewksbury. He was also the brother of the late, Edward F. Mulligan, Grady Mulligan, and Donald R. Mulligan. He'll be sadly missed.
Thank you. Any further? Dr. Chambers, please. Thank you. I need a motion to accept and place on file minutes of the city council meeting for January 30th for acceptance.
So moved.
So, second.
Councilor Mercier and Councilor, seconded by Councilor Noon. Motion passes. All right, we now have communications from the city manager. And the first one being pedestrian safety and inspection of Pawtucket Boulevard and Rourke Bridge. Ms. Conway, do you want to talk on it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I want to thank you very much for putting this together, because I think that there certainly was a concern out there for the safety in that area. And I think that after taking a look at the report, I do believe that things are going to be a lot safer in that area for those pedestrians. So I thank you for that, putting it together. Thank you.
Councilor Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. In this response, it seemed like the people that work for UMass Lowell, they were not available to help us. So we have people that are working to help us in the city. They're doing extra duty to come on board and make sure that this intersection is safe. So I'm wondering, what partnership do we have with the police from UMass Lowell in the city? What do they actually do? Are they doing enough to help us in the city here?
This motion is related to the crosswalk on the VFW. That motion relative to the Howe Bridge will be coming up in a moment.
Oh.
And Superintendent Taylor is here to answer any questions.
Okay.
But this one responds to the crosswalk,
Oh, all right.
okay?
All set? Okay, thank you. The Utopian Park Hydro Sculpture, Councilor Mercier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was referred to the Parks Subcommittee, whom will meet next Tuesday at 5:30 before the council meeting. So I just wanted to thank you for the update, but it's not thorough, but we will get more information at the Parks Subcommittee, and that's going to be held next Tuesday. Thank you.
Further discussion? Thank you. the Merrimack Valley Food Bank. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. Is, anybody here from DPD or? Okay. Thank you. So I was just wondering, I read the report, it's a good report. Any thoughts of, anything around the Tanner Street, area that needs to be, that could work for them or?
Yeah, at the moment, I'll also allow Maria Dickinson, our Economic Development Officer, to answer that. She's had some more historical perspective
Yep.
in terms of the longer-term search. But just generally speaking, we've just been challenged in finding a decent inventory of single-story buildings that they need in their size that would be workable for them. And there have been challenges on other sites as far as environmental issues and price. But I'll let Maria speak specifically to Tanner Street to know if there's any.
Sure. I think the challenge with Tanner Street is contamination because they are dealing with food storage and contamination is a big issue. So we're trying to stay away from Tanner Street if we can. But I think in long term, I think there are potential if we can identify the right parcels that we could maybe available to clean, do some cleanup. I think Tanner Street is more like a long-term option. Right now, we're trying to do more short-term and try to find out what's available.
Okay, there's nothing up around the Plain Street area by where Bob's Furniture or anything on the other side of the street that,
There was a parcel that was identified as 450 Chelmsford Street, owned by Mr. Paley. However, he's not interested in selling at this time. We'll continue to look. I think that is a great option. They're looking for a story type building, warehouse. Would be a great location off the connector. But we'll keep looking. And even if a property is not currently available on the market, we'll keep approaching property owners to see if there are potential for it.
okay, yeah, that was my next question. I didn't know if there were a clump of dilapidated buildings or homes or anything on the outskirts of Plain Street or Chelmsford Street or anything out there that we could identify to maybe put together. Maybe that it would be a swap, they could get the land and then put the building up that they wanted, or,
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll look at all different options.
okay. Yeah, I mean, anything we could do, we don't want to lose them, but they've outgrown their,
Yes, so we'll keep staying in touch with Amy. We just said, recently we had a meeting with her, so we'll keep our eyes open. I know right now, they can stay there for a while. They also have the option of expanding on the site, so we'll look at that option as well. So
Okay.
we'll stay in touch with her and see what we can do.
All right.
But absolutely, we would love to keep her in Lowell. It's critical that we keep
Sure,
them in
yeah.
Lowell.
okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for the report.
Council Elliott, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up question. It's a good motion because they have been patient and they do want to stay in the city at central location. And they do have some needs, but nothing unusual. They need loading dock. And so how does this work, Mr. Manager? I mean, we have people come to us on more occasions than this one saying, look, we want to stay in the city, we want to relocate in the city. Is there a database? I know clearly there is. The city has a database of our assets or asset management, but when it comes to other privately owned, as was just mentioned, I mean, we sit there scratching our heads saying, okay, there's got to be space in the city. Is it Tanner Street? I mean, I happen to think Tanner Street might be attractive knowing that we are going to be going through the realignment and it's going to be a good location. I mean, I understand there are junkyards and that may not be the most appropriate place, but is that something that we can tap into short of?
Mr.
Yeah.
Shapiro, could you talk, is CoStar, I believe, is the...
Yeah, so we have access to a couple of things. One, we have a subscription to a CoStar database, which pulls from various sources to identify what parcels are owned by which people, which parcels are on the market, and we can tap into that and look to see what's available. And we also have a proprietary site finder database that we maintain because there are some properties that CoStar doesn't identify in their database. So we're able to cross-reference and see a variety of properties all over the city that may or may not be available for any appropriate use.
Okay, so we're at a pretty good vacancy. I mean, it's pretty full, or not vacant.
You mentioned it. We found it with another business. It's tough to find a building with a loading dock, and they desperately need a loading dock. We ran into this with a downtown business, and that's a tough thing to find in the city, so.
Okay.
They need 4 loading docks, which,
loading docks.
yeah, it's definitely an intense use. But we're going to keep working with them.
Okay, so that database is updated as properties come on the,
Yes.
go up for sale. That's good. That's good to know. Thank you. I'm sure the people at home wanted to know too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How's that? Okay. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every now and then we get calls, I'm sure. I got a call from Arthur Romalo, who's looking for a gym, because as we know, the Lawrence Street facility is going to be used for 71 units of housing. They were before the planning board last night. So Arthur Romalo is looking for some facility to put in his gym. Are you aware of that? That's why I'm bringing it up, because you are the key people.
Yes, Councilor Mercia, we are aware. We've been, we are in touch with Mr. Romalo, and we just sent them a couple of listings,
Yeah.
available properties for lease. So we'll keep looking for space for them. This is another organization that we hope to keep
That's
here in
right.
Lowell.
We want to keep them in Lowell, yes.
Absolutely.
And they provide a good service, too, because they're taking the frustrations out in the ring, and so it's quite a good thing, I think. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The next is enhanced type of business attracted to the city. Councilor Leahy, do you want to speak on that? We have a speaker also.
We have a speaker?
Yes.
I'll let the speaker go first.
Speaker, please state your name.
Stephen Malagodi.
Stephen Malagodi, 200 Market Street. Yes, I noticed a paragraph in the report that was given to you from the Economic Development Office, the paragraph that begins, another action referenced in the Sustainable Lowell 2025 plan is to, quote, fill vacant storefronts with pop-up galleries, satellite libraries, and/or public art. The paragraph goes on to talk about ideas for a retail business incubator and various help for startups. But I wanted to talk about the first part of that, this idea of pop-up galleries for public art. The city of Arlington, Massachusetts, has an interesting program. They have, it's called the Vacant Storefront Bylaw. And this bylaw requires that landlords register vacant storefronts with the city and pay a yearly fee to the city for as long as that storefront stays open. However, that fee can be waived if the landlord chooses to agree to host a pop-up gallery. If the landlords choose, they can have the $400 registration fee waived if they allow public art to be displayed in their storefronts until the property is filled. It's an interesting idea, and the fee for vacant storefronts is also kind of interesting, as it's a nice incentive for landlords not to leave their storefronts vacant. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. This bylaw has been in effect in Arlington for the past year, so it might be interesting to see how that's working out for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malagodi, for the information. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. What I was hoping too is maybe this could go to the downtown subcommittee or the appropriate subcommittee, and maybe we could schedule some sort of a Saturday meet and greet somewhere and get some local, get people to speak with ideas like this, and just get some thoughts and some discussion going on what we can do, what we want the downtown to look like, how we can attract businesses or landlords to invest, and see what we can be doing. There's a lot of good ideas out there. There's a lot of you know, maybe people don't realize that they can get low-interest loans to fix up those second and third story that seem to be troubling us. And from what I can tell, it could be a big problem with the water sprinklers and fire codes, right, that we have now, you know, that people need to upgrade their buildings. But maybe this is something that we need to really sit down with a group of people and get a discussion going and see what we want to do. I had a discussion with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were going on and on about this and what do we need to bring downtown and where are we heading to. So maybe that's something we could schedule with the subcommittee in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Councilman Linazzo.
Thank you. This is a good report, and I thank Councilor Leahy for the motion. This was already actually referred to the downtown redevelopment, or the downtown economic development subcommittee. I actually got a notice from the clerk, and the members are Councilor Leahy and Councilor Kennedy. So, again, as chair, I'd be happy to coordinate it through the manager's office with the planning and development office, and then with the downtown businesses to just do what Councilor Leahy suggested, getting a roundtable discussion some Saturday morning in the downtown to talk about this report and then other issues to come before the downtown economic development subcommittee. So, again, I got the notice already, so happy to do that.
Councilor Mercia, then Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, many years ago, we've always had a downtown coordinator, someone from the city that went downtown and went into the different businesses to see how they're doing, what can the city do to help them thrive, what is it that they're lacking, and it was Kathy Langtang many years ago. Do we have such a person now? I thought Chris Samaras was one, and now I know he's moved on, so.
We do not have a dedicated downtown coordinator position, but through our office, we make a dedicated effort to keep in communication with downtown businesses. Myself, Maria Dickinson, and Tom Lamont, our economic development assistant. But the position is not an official position titled anymore.
Well, someone in the city should be given an extra title to a job description to allow that to happen. It's one thing to have business here, but we want to keep them here, and I like them to feel like they're wanted here and the city is concerned about them. It's not like we just want you to come here and then we'll see you later, you're on your own. I think that this is a very important message that spreads to other people that this is a city that cares about our business. So we can have a downtown business, but if we don't initiate some sort of a partnership and show them that we care about them, that's just a common courtesy, I think, and I think that we should initiate it still. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Council Leahy raises a very good point about second and third floor and sprinkler systems. I know that the old Union National Bank building, which was converted into a restaurant, that they had to put a sprinkler system throughout the entire building. And so, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, to what extent is that an issue downtown as far as development of the upper floors or occupancy on the upper floors?
I can't give you exact numbers as far as the sprinkler. I know one of the real problems we have is the elevator access for these buildings is a real drawback, but we can get an updated report that talks about the sprinkler systems.
Okay, well,
the impact.
I know that a sprinkler system is a very expensive item to have to put in, but I would appreciate a report that maybe pointed out which buildings don't have sprinkler systems and need to be updated, and which do, and likewise, I guess, with the elevators, if the elevators are an issue as well. Is that a report that we could get in a pretty timely?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? No, I want to thank, I thought that was a good report and some good information. Thank you. Next is traffic control at Howe Bridge. Councilor Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we did get a response as to asking if UMass Lowell could put their police there and staff it at that particular time from 4:30 to 6:30. and the university says it's not something they're able to do, only because they have a shortage of manpower within the department. So our Lowell police, again, will have to step up to the plate, and the traffic control officers will be doing it on a rotating basis, because these are key hours, and they could move the traffic along. There's nothing more frustrating than staying in traffic for quite some time. So I would wonder, through this motion, if we could get some sort of a report as to what does the university police, what do they do to partner with the city in any way? What is their, do we know, Chief?
Certainly.
Oh, well then, if you're going to tell me, I don't need a report. That's fine.
Certainly. Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Councilor Mercia. We do extensive collaboration with the university police. We partner in training. We do quite a bit of mutual call assistance back and forth. We back them up, they back us up. So in a lot of respects, we're almost integrated as one combined department for the city. I think the problem comes in is they're, in relative terms compared to our police department, they're a fraction of the size. They're relatively small. And so they only have enough personnel to cover their various campuses that are spread around the city. And they also have a campus out in Chelmsford near the Lowell line. So they just quite candidly don't have the manpower available to dedicate to this purpose. That particular intersection, I agree with everybody that has concerns about that, especially at rush hour. That is a troubled intersection. We have pedestrians and vehicles sharing that same very small space. And there's two principal concerns that the police department tries to focus on. One is intersection blocking, so that we don't have vehicles blocking the intersection as the light changes, and it prevents vehicles from going in the opposite direction. And the other one is pedestrian control, because we have to manage the pedestrians at the same time we're managing the vehicles. And it quite candidly gets to be quite a chore. So what we can do, and what we have done, is we'll continue to dedicate Lowell police officers there, usually as part of our extra duty traffic enforcement assignments, and sometimes on a regular duty assignment to assist with that. What the university is doing, what they're bringing to this particular problem, is a public education campaign internally to the students and the staff to try and get the message out, how dangerous it is at that intersection, and try and encourage the students to obey the traffic control laws and the pedestrian lights, and work with the police authorities as we try and manage that intersection. In addition to that, they also have an ongoing transportation subcommittee, which I personally sit on, along with other members from the city, the fire chief, also various people from the engineering and the city's DPD sit on it. They're trying to come to a more comprehensive traffic and pedestrian and other type of transportation plan moving forward for the next 5-10 years as the university continues to potentially grow. That's an ongoing process. This particular intersection, as well as some of the more congested intersections on both sides of the river, are at the forefront of those discussions. We're trying to find unique, innovative ways to try and make them safe and manage the congestion. Just this week, unfortunately, a student was struck on the other side of the river, pedestrian. The student, I'm optimistic the student will be okay, but that's an indication of how congested and dangerous these intersections can be if people aren't careful and we don't manage it appropriately.
Thank you very much, Chief. That's a wonderful report. Thank you.
All set, Council?
Yes.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you, to the chief. Is there a way, I understand what you're saying, but is there a way they can hire basically a crossing guards? Because the kids, I was just there even this weekend. You get a group of 10 kids and they don't really care the light, they just cross against the lights, and it's their responsibility. And I think we need to push the issue with them. If they can't hire a full-time police officer, then they got to get 6 or 7 crossing guards, basically, and put them in all the major intersections. And I think it's something that we have to insist on. It's going to be short money for them, but it's a problem. I mean,
Well-
these kids, once they get out of classes, they just keep going, and They walk right out into the intersections.
Well, I will certainly bring that to the university police chief.
Yeah.
Chief Brashears is a wonderful person. We have a great relationship.
yeah.
I will meet with him and suggest that and try and encourage them to bring it forward. It's certainly something worth exploring, see if they would be willing
Yeah, I
to
mean,
do
we
it.
do it for the kids for a couple of hours every day. They could figure out peak hours and, wouldn't have to be so much traffic control, but pedestrian
Pedestrian
control.
control, right, exactly.
And that would help out tremendously. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you. Next, under informational, the Amoresco contract, scope and savings. Council Elliott, Council Milonazo? Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. What I'd like to do is return the favor to Council Leahy and actually refer this to the Municipal Facilities Subcommittee that Council Leahy chairs. I'm very impressed with the numbers from the standpoint of the savings, but at the same time, I have to question if this work was done, for instance, at the high school, why did we have the problems that we did have at the high school? So I would like this to refer to the Municipal Subcommittee for further investigation, if you will. Again, it's very impressive from the standpoint of the savings, $5.2 million. They looked at 48 buildings, 20, I think it was 29 different school buildings and 19 municipal buildings. And it looks like we are realizing a savings during the guaranteed savings program. But again, at the end of the day, not only does the high school have issues, but other schools that are on this list have issues. So I guess the reason is, to send it to the Municipal Subcommittee for further study. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Elliott?
No, I agree. I think it's a good report. It does show the savings. Does this also include any, excuse me, any rate increases that may have taken place? Because sometimes you just have to compare apples to apples, where we had savings, whether it was from less kilowatt usage, but the rate goes up. Is there a historical comparison in there?
So, thank you for the question, Councilor Elliott. So the way that these guaranteed savings are typically measured, there's usually a baseline level of rates that are established when you do your audit, and then there's an escalation of that from year to year. So the assumptions that go into that assume that there is a rate escalation, and so that's kind of built into the guaranteed savings numbers.
Okay, good. That's good. No, I look forward to the report and sending this to the Municipal Subcommittee. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you. Oh, we need a second for Councilor Milonazo's motion.
Second.
By Councilor Mercia, thank you. Okay. Going by hand and voice. Okay. I need a motion to accept
Mayor?
and place on file. I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me, I tried to raise my hand to catch you, but I did have a question on this report.
Okay.
The
So I'm
previous-
sorry, I
So
apologize.
I'm sorry, do you mind?
Yeah.
If
go ahead.
okay, I see here, that it says, actually the last sentence says, if the city council would like to pursue this course of action, it is recommended that a maintenance option be exercised as part of the project to protect the infrastructure. So, I would like to suggest that we implement the maintenance option, because I think that it will help alleviate any issues that come up earlier rather than later. So I think that that's an important feature, and if we can implement that, that would be fantastic.
Second the motion, if that's a motion.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Motion. Thank you. By Councilor Kennedy.
Could you reread the motion?
You want to reread the motion, please? The motion.
I would like to implement the maintenance option, that is the last sentence here, to be exercised as part of the project to protect the infrastructure and the ECMs.
That was taken by Councilor Kennedy. All set? All set? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I need a motion to accept and place on file.
So moved.
Councilor?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Just on the motion, so some of the energy conservation measures, which is what Councilor Cirillo refers to, some of them were not implemented. Can we get a list of what those are and what the cost is? I thought we were gonna, I'd just like to get some more information before we vote on implementing this, what the cost savings is. Do we know that at this point? And if not, if there's no objection, I'd just like to get a little bit more information on exactly what that impact. And if there's no cost to implement this maintenance option, then that is a good thing. Do we know that at this point before we vote on it?
I'm sorry, there might have been some confusion in the wording of that. I believe, from my understanding, when the original ESCO project was implemented, Amoresco had offered to include a portion of the maintenance, but there is an additional cost that's associated with that. And so the motion response was more about if you chose to do some larger type of project with multiple things in the future, given the types of things and challenges that we tend to face, I think that a maintenance option is something that should be explored as part of those future projects. For the current project, it was determined that that wasn't something that we wanted to do. But if you need additional information for what that would look like for the current project, I would be happy to gather that information for you.
Okay, so I guess that clarifies things that at this point, for the 29 schools and municipal buildings that we did with lighting and other improvements, there is no maintenance option that we did not exercise. This is about future projects and ensuring that if we're going to proceed with that, then we should certainly make sure that we exercise a maintenance option, right?
That's my recommendation.
Okay.
Do you want to go for any referral in regard to this project anymore?
Well, no, there is. I think she explained it well. There's not a maintenance option that we did not exercise for the project that we put in place, and I think that's what
I think
Councilor
what we can
Cirillo
do is
was
get a
looking.
cost estimate as to what it would cost.
These are for future projects,
Yeah.
correct?
That's what was in the original response that I had written. I know that I can reach out to Amoresco to see if they are willing to take on the maintenance on the past project, if that's something that would be the desire of the council.
Well, maybe, I think that's what Councilor Cirillo was looking at. So if we can do that, we don't know what that cost is, so
We can
know,
get a cost estimate.
voting on
and
that
report
tonight,
back.
I'd like to know what I'm voting on, what the cost is before we proceed with that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Cirillo?
Hi, yes, I know that there is going to be most likely a cost associated with that, but in the long run, we will probably be saving money on the maintenance plan to make sure that our buildings or the work that's done is maintained down the line. So it probably will, even the cost, what it's going to cost will eventually save us money in the long run. Thank
Let-
you.
If there's no objection from the maker of the motion, just let me offer an amendment that maybe this should be referred to the manager to get a report back on exactly how much it's going to cost. I do think it's a good idea. I think that over the long term, it's smart to do this. However, we should do it knowing what the costs are going to be for both for the future and for the buildings where we have got things in existence. So if there's no objection, I would offer that as an amendment, that it be referred to the manager and the manager report back on what those costs are.
Is there a second?
There's no objection. Thank you.
Second for that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All right, we have the motion on the floor to accept and place on file. Councilor
moved.
Kennedy, and seconded by Councilor Conway. Thank you. Next, we have communication. Appoint Lisa Patnod to Animal Advising Committee as resident dog owner. I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Mercier, seconded by Councilor Leahy. I need a roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Nun.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes,
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Patnod,
I'd just like to thank
Congratulations.
everybody. Thank you very much, Counselor, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor. I look forward to this. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to speak not so much on this appointment, but the Animal Advisory Committee is now complete with this latest appointment. There are 7 members. So I'd like to call the first meeting now that everyone has been reappointed and the committee or commission is complete. So, Mr. Clerk, I don't know if next Tuesday is available, but I will contact you and set up.
Tuesday's not, but
Tuesday?
we'll talk.
Okay, we'll talk. So, and, next week sometime, Mr. Manager will reach out and we'll call a meeting of the committee and kick it off. So, thank you very much.
All set. Okay. Thank you. Next, on communication, to reappoint Dr. William J. Galvin III to the Board of Health. I need a motion to adopt.
So move.
So moved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Cirillo. Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Nun.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Is Dr. Galvin here?
I don't think he's here.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, next we have votes from the city manager to authorize the city manager and the Board of Trustees of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium to proceed under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30, for management services, 5-year term with options for an additional 3-year extension. Want to waive the full reading, second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager and the Board of Trustees of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium to proceed under the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30B, for management services for the Lowell Memorial Auditorium for a term of 5 years, with an option for an additional 3-year extension. I need a motion to adopt. So moved. Okay, by Councilor Conway, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Discussion.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will, ladies before gentlemen.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to, can we get a copy of the RFP, Mr. Manager? It hasn't been sent out yet. I mean, I would just like to look at it, and I think it's very good that we're going out looking for a new firm. But as you know, sending out an RFP is only good as what is in that scope and what the requirements are. So I think you mentioned it in your memorandum to us regarding additional bookings, certainly more shows, more events to spur economic development downtown. Clearly, we know that the city's invested money into it, but we're not carrying the deficit anymore, which is a good thing. But I'd just like to get a copy of it, and I do see you reserve the right to refuse any, proposals, but getting the right company in there that can bring in shows, and if there is a risk that they have to take similarly to other contractors or, people that ran the auditorium, then I don't know how that works out, but I just think it would be helpful to see it, so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All set. Councilor Mercia, then
Thank you,
Councilor
Ms.
Noon, then Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought when I first read it that we were offering more years to the current people that are this spectrum that are managing, but I think it isn't. But if you could let Connor probably explain a little bit more as to what's going on. And are we voting for the RFP to go out, or we're just, so how many votes are we having with this here? Could we just have
Just
someone?
one.
Just one?
Yeah, we're not extending the existing, we have the right under the existing contract to
So this
extend
vote
it.
isn't doing that, right?
No,
Okay.
no, because this council has made it abundantly clear to me that they wanted more activity at the auditorium, so I thought it would be in the best interests of the city to do this RFP to see if we can attract more activity to the auditorium. So what this vote, this one vote you'll be taking, will be authorizing me to have the RFP say that it's going to be a 5-year contract, because only the city council can authorize a contract more than 3 years. So that's what this does.
So currently, we have a 3-year contract.
We have a 5-year contract, which is expiring, but there's a 3-year extension that we could grant to the existing management company, but we're not going to grant that extension. We're going to go out to an RFP instead and see if there's more activity that can be generated.
Okay, thank you.
All set?
Yes.
Councilor Noon?
Through you to the managers. I too concur with Attorney Councilor Elliott that I'm pleased to see that there's no deficit with the current management. But the new OIP, would you to send out what you're looking for in that new management beside more booking?
Thank you, Counselor. The RFP is looking for what some of the council has mentioned already, the, additional shows at the auditorium, but also someone that's going to maintain the character of that historic building. The city council has appropriated a significant amount of money to bring the stadium up to a beauty that it hasn't been in quite some time, and we want to make sure that it's maintained, that all the systems in the building are maintained to the top quality, and that those additional shows are sought, but that the risk is on the management company, and it limits the risk to the taxpayer as much possible.
Spectrum is now the current management, right? Are they the same management people that manage the auditorium?
They manage both the auditorium and the Tsongas Center.
Do they have a right to submit their OIP? Should this be open?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
Thank you.
All set, Councilman? Okay, Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, the vote that you're asking us to take tonight authorizes the city manager and the board of trustees to proceed under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30. Does that mean that you will not come back, that this vote would be, that you would be able to just go with the RFP and then sign the contract without returning to the city council?
No, I'd return to the city council.
Okay. When do you think that would be?
February 22nd is the date that we now have for the proposal to be submitted. So, we'll review them, and then I would imagine it would be sometime in March. We'll be back to the city council with a recommendation for a contract, I mean.
Okay. The Councilor Elliott has asked for a copy of the RFP. Can you furnish every member of the city
Oh,
council?
yeah, I'll
a
send it
copy
to
of
the
RFP?
entire council.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Milazzo?
Thank you. Through you to the manager. What's the current status of the lease that we have with the Merrimack Repertory Theater? Because I heard they had a very, a very good year this year, and
I don't, Connor said, we don't think they're coterminous with the Spectra, but we'll get a report and let you know exactly. When we send you this RFP, we'll tell you what their lease is also.
okay, great. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
I just want to correct myself that we do carry a slight deficit, and that has been shrinking. Does that continue this year? I thought it was zero, but it's not. And is that part? Will that be part of? Will that be part of the RFP that they have to look to reduce that deficit? What are some of the things that we pay for? I guess I should ask.
Part of the appropriation in the city's budget is $190,000 to the auditorium. Previously, it was run as an enterprise fund.
Right.
So the issue that the city ran into was any deficit had to be raised on the next year's tax rate. A couple of years ago, the city council voted to rescind the enterprise fund, and now, in order to exceed the $190,000, would require an additional appropriation of the council. So it was sort of a check and balance put in place by this council to limit the exposure.
Oh, no, and I think that's good, because anytime they exceed their appropriation, they have to come here. In the past, they just continue to, as you mentioned, it would have to raise it in the following year. What types of things are we funding? Is security? Is it, energy?
Mostly it's maintenance and repairs. It's essentially a capital infusion for the year for the operation of the building in its entirety. The contract for the concessions is a separate matter, but the amount appropriated in the budget is the total amount for their operation for the year.
Okay, so how do we provide an incentive for the future vendor or the future company that's going to run shows? What's the incentive? If they don't put any of their money out, they don't lose any money, correct, to bring venues in? Is that how it currently works? If they're going to bring somebody in, they're going to make sure that whatever they expend to get the performance here, they're not going to lose, correct?
Correct, that's what the 190,000 is for, it's sort of like.
Which is why we perhaps see limited, I mean, the prior company, they sometimes, admittedly, they lost money on shows, but they kept bringing people in, to keep it live. And we don't want to suggest that, but there's got to be a better way, and I think that's what we're looking for.
But a good example of what this council does to maintain it, just a short time ago, you authorized us to apply for the Cultural Facilities Fund so that we could repair the bathrooms and the back loading doors to attract bigger events, and that's what we're in the process of doing. And we matched it with $400,000. So
And that was my follow-up. So loading zone clearly was an issue because
I don't think Riverdance could get in. They couldn't attract Riverdance because the doors weren't big enough to bring them through. So we're increasing the doors as much as we can.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. I think that's why I asked for all of us to get that RFP, and it wasn't just for me, because I think it's important that we look at it, and maybe some of us can come up with some good ideas. So, thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the common complaints about the auditorium has been for the past several years, that it's dark most of the time, and that they're really not bringing in the shows. And when you compare the Lowell Auditorium to the Lynn Auditorium, it's like night and day. I think the Lynn Auditorium last year brought in 37 quality shows, and I'm not sure what the Lowell Auditorium brought in, but I know that it's nowhere near there. Both of those venues are approximate in size, and there's no reason why the shows that show up at the Lynn Auditorium on a regular basis couldn't be up in Lowell. But I think in the meetings that we had last year, and those meetings included personnel from that were in charge of the Lynn Auditorium, as well as Peter Rossello, who runs Boarding House, and several other people. I think the common problem was that on some shows you make money, and on some shows you lose money. So you need to have a promoter in there, or a manager that's going to have deep pockets and that's going to be able to absorb a loss if there is one. And I think that if you can start off with 3 or 5 successful shows where you've made some money, then you build a little cushion for yourself, and then you can absorb a bad show every once in a while. So that really was the big issue in all the discussions that we had, and so hopefully the RFP will address that issue and come up with some sort of solution to that, because I think that's really the only thing that's going to get that auditorium to have more shows than what it has right now. Thank you.
Well said. Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Motion accepted. Next, we have authorized city manager and/or treasurer proceed under Mass General Laws 30B for banking services, 5-year term. Waive the full reading, second reading by title, authorizing the city manager and/or the city treasurer to proceed under the provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B for banking services for a term of 5 years. I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Noon.
Question?
Discussion? Councilor Milonazo?
Not directly related to this vote, but does the city actually have employees that are certified under the MCPPO program through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? And if so, do they actually make up a procurement committee that reviews all of the RFPs or RFQs that come in? And just again, thinking about what's going on with this.
Well, the city's purchasing officer is a certified procurement officer, MCPPO, and most everything in the city is run through Mike Vaughn's office. He does a great job, so he sets up these committees for review after the If we issue an RFP and there needs to be a technical review committee based on the comparative criteria in the RFP, he advises all of the committees, but both Mike and then his sort of deputy up in purchasing are both certified MCPPOs.
As an MCPPO, I know they have the sub-certification in construction, public construction projects. Do we have anybody in our DPW that has the public construction certification? Do you know?
I don't know, we can find out, though.
Okay.
You mean the construction manager?
Correct, right, yeah.
Construction, we'll find out if
Okay.
there are any that are.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Roll call?
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Nun.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Motion accepted. Next, we have the vote to transfer $5,000 to fund building inspection overtime. Waive the first full reading, second reading by title. Order transfer of $5,000 to fund building inspector overtime. Need a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Garcia, and second by Councilor Cirillo. Any discussion on this? Roll call?
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Nun.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Any subcommittee reports? All right, next we have petitions, claims, 2 property damage. I need a motion to refer to
Refer to
law
Law
department.
Department, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon me?
Refer to Law Department for report and recommendation.
Finished, but
Second.
seconded by Councilor Noon. Motion accepted. National Grid, request City Council grant easement on Franklin Street for electric distribution contract construction. Need a motion to refer to Law Department for a report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Conway. Motion accepted. Miscellaneous, Carol Lamash requests installation of a handicap parking sign at 16 Methuen Street. I need a motion to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Cirillo, second by Councilor Cirillo. Motion accepted. Under miscellaneous, Diane Allen requests installation of handicap parking sign in front of 14 Mount Washington Street. I need a motion to refer to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Kennedy.
Second.
By Councilor Noon. Motion adopted. Okay. Now, motion time. First motion by Councilor Mercia. Request City Council support naming the Parks Department building on Stedman Street in honor of Thomas R. Bellegarde for his many years of service.
Second.
Thank you, everyone, for seconding it. That was great. In 1977, a young man of 21 got a job in the city as a laborer with the DPW. 10 years later, this young man became the first commissioner of Parks and Recreation, a post he held for 30 years in this city. In 2016, this young man, a little bit older now, became the Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, Cemeteries, DPW, and / Assistant City Manager. Thank you for that, Mr. Manager. In 1977, there were 32 parks, and now there are 92, all done by a man who led his team to not only completion, but perfection. He served under 8 city managers and perhaps 100 city councilors, and was with me in the Parks Subcommittee for 22 years. He has been my good friend and an excellent employee, conscientious, dedicated, and understanding to the people he has overseen. As Tom has said many times, his proudest accomplishments were not only expanding and maintaining space for the city's youth to play and keep them safe, but finding ways well, I lost that page, and during his time, what happened? I lost a page, that's all right. But anyways, during his time as director, the Parks and Recreation hired several thousand high school-age youth for summer jobs. Tom, realizing that the city is surrounded by rivers and canals, I know he thinks it's oceans, lakes, and streams, but it isn't. It's actually rivers and canals, and that danger faces everyone who could not swim. And being around water, he put forth a program to teach our youth and residents to learn how to swim for free. This program is still in existence for the past 30 years. Tom helped a group bring to life the Blue Star Memorial Garden at the intersection of Bridge Street and the VFW Highway. He allowed his department to collaborate with the clients from the sheriff's office to clean areas of the city. I could go on for a few hours about all that I admire about him and what he has given to the city, but I'll say thank you to his wife, Debbie, who made sacrifices along the way. Tom was called away from dinners and holiday celebration to tend to the city. Now is the time, Tom, for you to get reacquainted with your wife, Debbie, your 3 children, and your 5 grandchildren. Enjoy your retirement, your family, and most of all, if supported this evening, the honor of the Parks Department building on Stedman Street, named after you, and to bring the name of the building wherever else that building goes, still bears his name. I can't think of a more deserving person. He put in his time. He's completely dedicated, and I want to say thank you, Tom, for your many years of dedicated service. So thank you very much for being a part of our city and making it grow and prosper. Thank you so much. And if I could have a roll call on this motion, that would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Thank you. Yes.
9 yeas.
Any further discussion? Thank you. Next motion by Councilor Conway, request City Council create a subcommittee on municipal health insurance. Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When you take a look at the amounts of money that is spent in the city with health coverage, we have approximately 4,000 individuals that take advantage of this GIC coverage, about 2,000 that would be active and 2,000 that are retired. The amount of money we're talking about is somewhere in the vicinity of $4.3 million per month, or over $50 million in the course of the year. I want to make it perfectly clear that this motion is not to take the place of the city manager in negotiations, but just simply to bring forward any type of information for informational purposes, for research, and again, not to negotiate contracts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Vice Mayor, excuse me. I understand the intent behind the motion, but I believe that if it gets referred anywhere, it should get referred to the Finance Subcommittee. We have a working Finance Subcommittee that certainly deals with $4.3 million projects or monies that come in and out of the community. So I don't really see the need for setting up a new subcommittee, in this case called the Municipal Health Insurance. But again, I will certainly defer to the chairman of the Finance Subcommittee to see if something like this belongs before the Finance Subcommittee. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Mayor Samaras.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Noon. The one thing, the chair believes that the motion may be out of order, and I'd like to offer a friendly substitute motion, if I can call it that way, to refer this matter to the city manager, the city solicitor, for review and recommendation. And hopefully we'd get that information by next week. My concern is that we do not want to violate our Plan E charter. And to get into, defer it, and especially to get into areas defined by negotiations, which is part of collective bargaining. So, I mean, we can have the best of plans, but what I want to assure is that we are not interfering with the city manager's right to negotiate. And if, in looking at this and reviewing this, maybe there's a suggestion as to how that subcommittee could work, or if it should work. But as Councilor Milonazo stated, we do have a finance committee which addresses the financial issues. That's my concern. My concern is that we don't overstep our bounds as a city council, by some of our motions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
As well stated, as well defined as.
I'll
Thank you,
second,
Ms. Maris.
I'll second
Second by Councilor Malinazzo. Any discussion on that substitute motion? Councilors?
No, I think it makes sense to send it back to the manager. I think the intent of the motion it's a well-intended motion. I think all of us were caught off guard last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, when the GIC voted to consolidate plans, and people all of a sudden get nervous. And I think the fact that the GIC reversed their decision in a timely manner after, it affects, millions, I'll say hundreds of thousands of employees, and certainly those communities that have adopted the GIC with the intent of providing, good coverage with lots of options through many companies, and then all of a sudden, in one fell swoop, GIC votes to get rid of some of the three of the biggest carriers in the Commonwealth. So I think the motion was to speak to, and I'm not going to speak for the maker of the motion, but to get information out if they're of this magnitude, so people, and including communities like us, are not going to get caught off guard. So I think it makes sense to send it to the manager, get a report on, how we can get information out. I'm happy to entertain it in the finance subcommittee, but yeah.
Thank you,
Those are my
Councilor
thoughts.
Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could, thank you, Mr.
Councilors Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we hear from the city solicitor on this, on this motion and how it relates to
Solicitor O'Connor, please.
the issue that the mayor has brought up?
Sure. There's limited information right now, and frankly, I think there'd be, at least from my standpoint, an intent to speak directly with the maker of the motion, just to get a better understanding. He did state up front that he is aware and sensitive to the Planey issues. Nevertheless, as the mayor pointed out, they do exist, certainly. And so if it were referred to the city manager, then perhaps we could have some further discussions with the maker of the motion to get a better understanding of really the scope and function of this, and include that in a report back to the full council.
Thank you, Solicitor.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Do we need a roll call on it? Clerk?
Sure. On the substitute motion?
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Nun.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Thank you, Vice Chair Noon. Okay, the next is from Councilor Cirillo. Request city manager provide a report regarding cost analysis of recycling pickup every week, comparing it to current cost pickup every other week. In addition, providing possible options for residents that bins overflow, i.e. second bin for people who request it. Second,
Second.
by Councilor Noon.
This is registered speaker, yes.
We have a registered speaker. Do we want to have the registered speaker first?
Sure, I'll have the registered speaker.
Okay.
Peter Martin.
Hi, it's Peter Martin, 62 Parkview. Just wanted to speak very briefly in support of this motion. As a not-so-young father with an infant and a toddler, I've been kind of shocked by how much recycling we've been creating. And it's very frustrating just when we, maybe once a month, end up throwing away some recycling. I don't think this is a major issue, but I think there's enough, particularly families and people in denser situations that deal with this, that I'm hoping, if the costs are correct, that there could be maybe an option for a second bin or something like that. So hopefully this is just a pretty quick one for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Cirillo?
Yes, I feel that now that people are becoming more aware and more dedicated to recycling, that there is going to be more overflow in the recycling bins, and I'm hopeful that we can try and help the residents who have this issue in finding different ways to help alleviate that with maybe another bin or more pickups for the recycling. So I'm just trying to help aid the people who are dedicated and the residents who are dedicated to recycling.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott? Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I look forward to the report. I know that we did discuss this, I believe, just 2 years ago. I believe Councilor Rourke brought this up, and we did get a report. And the cost was around $800,000 to go to a every week pickup. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know if Gunther's here, but we'll look forward to getting maybe updated numbers on that, because it required, you know, a second truck. And do we have to renegotiate that as part of our existing contract, Mr. Manager?
Yes, but we'll have the full report
Is that,
as far as...
is that correct? What is it on a weekly basis or excuse me, every other weekend, every other week to pick up
We paid,
recycling?
2 years ago, the report was about $750,000 to do the,
Okay.
every week additional. So what we will do, though, we'll get the current figures, but also we'll have a report on what they can do with the overflow.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
would
it's
be
easy
great.
for me. I can bring the overflow right down to the DPW down the street from my house, but that's difficult for other people, so we'll come up with alternative methods. if
Yeah,
they
no, I
overflow.
don't think we wanted to end up in the trash. I put it in my
Right.
neighbor's recycling. But I think it makes sense to have, I mean, I know we have bags, so, you know, I'm not sure if that's the option, or we don't have to charge people to recycle, but it makes sense for people if we can recycle more. You know, what is the option short of going down to the Department of Public Works? And what is the cost of the barrels? Because we don't charge residents, right? And we just rolled that into our contract, and it was a loan order over the course of that time. I mean, those are the biggest barrels we got, right?
Right. The last report said it would be $50 for the additional barrels, so
Right.
we'll find out what that
I mean, if
figure
people
is.
want another barrel to recycle, I mean, I have to tell you, every other week, we're close. So I can understand families, young families that have barrels, I mean, that can, you know, get to the top. Maybe it's something we can look at Christmas time, Mr. Manager, because that's when there seems to be more trash as well. So it's a good motion to look into it and get a report. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Through you to the manager. When does the contract come up again for that?
Next December.
Okay. And because we have had this discussion, the way they empty the barrels now, they're basically one barrel per residence, right?
Right.
Okay. The other thing is, you know, I hope people know that they can go to Middlesex Street.
Right.
But maybe we should explore one more recycling bin. And I know that it was a huge issue last time where you put it, but maybe there's somewhere like over at Colley Stadium in the back, on one of the side lots, we could have one there. There's 2 locations that people can drive to and empty your bins. I mean, there are certain times of the year when the barrels get filled up, but if we made it a little bit more convenient with 2 more containers, I don't know how much they empty that one on Middlesex Street, if that gets emptied every other day or every 4 days, but that one gets used quite often, because I've been down there myself. So maybe that's something in the next contract we can look at, having 2 or 3 of those around the city. Because I'm pretty sure, you know, either way, you're gonna get charged if you pick up every week, or if you pick up more than 1 barrel at a residence, you're gonna have to negotiate that, so, thank you.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we all realize that it's a lot cheaper to get rid of recyclable goods than it is for trash. So the more we can get people in the city to recycle, the better off we are, and the more money we would save. My understanding is that the contract runs out this December, not next December.
I meant this,
December coming.
yeah, this
Okay.
December coming, I meant that.
All right, so I think it's been brought up that maybe 2 bins instead of 1 bin might work for some people. And my understanding is that there's some communities where they pick up recycling every week and they pick up trash every other week. Now, I'm not advocating for that here in Lowell, because I also realize that there are some people that put stuff in the recycling bin that doesn't belong there. which can result in a fine for the municipality, right, when that happens? Okay. Anyways, I think this is a good motion. I think anything that we can do to get more people to recycle, the better off we are in terms of the city budget. So I'm totally in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everything that should have been said has already been said. I'm looking forward to the report. If it comes down to it, I want people to know that there's only one size for the recycling, and it's a 90-gallon bucket. It's quite a lot for me. To have it every week wouldn't suffice for me and the elderly and people that are alone, even people that are married together without a family living there with them. It's still kind of, it's sufficient enough. If I had to choose between the city spending another $750,000 or people that want to recycle to get themselves to buy a barrel, that would be wonderful as well. So I think it's better to get a barrel and offer a decent price for them to get it. Recycling is very important, so that's the comments that I have. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cirillo, anything? All right, motion adopted. Oh, the next, okay, by Councilor Cirillo, request city manager provide a report regarding Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Said report to include updates on proposals for a management company due February 22nd, money allotted in budget use and upgrades, including larger loading dock, doors, restrooms, and efforts being made to increase its use. Need a second? By Councilor Kennedy.
I know that a lot of these issues were addressed already, so thank you. But I did want to ask, I see that Spectra is interested, Lowell Management Group with Peter Lally. Is there anyone else who is interested, who has mentioned that they were interested yet, or?
I haven't been contacted by anyone.
Okay. All right, and I did actually see and look back on some of the artists that have been at Lowell Memorial Auditorium, like Dropkick Murphys, and Melissa Etheridge, and Vince Gill, and Brian Wilson. So I feel that we can bring in the big names. And I looked in Boston and saw that some really fantastic artists who I feel are really in right now. For example, George Ezra, the Ex-Ambassadors, AWOL Nation, Walk the Earth, They Might Be Giants. These are all fantastic groups, and just for my personal edification, the Revivalists and Air Traffic Controller. But these are all really fantastic groups that I feel that if they're in Boston, they would probably be interested in coming to Lowell, to our beautiful auditorium. So I'm really excited about having someone come in who is going to be dedicated to the up-and-coming Lowell Auditorium and what they can bring to the city of Lowell. And yes, I would like a report on, but you pretty much already took care of most of that. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, motion adopted. Next, by Councilor Leahy, request city manager provide update regarding the latest meeting with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Councilor Leahy. Second by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. Sure, so I already spoke through you to the manager. I already spoke to you about this motion, so we're just looking to clarify the meeting that happened, where we go from here, and what the discussion would be for pool, no pool, what the redesign, what our thoughts might be, what's important for downtown location, and where do we go from here, and obviously to move on this as quickly as we can. So basically just looking for a report on that, and if you want to say something tonight, that's fine, and if not, I understand that, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to make sure that there's clear information out there to everybody on where we're going from this point. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy? and
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr. Mayor. I would certainly like to have something to say because I really feel like the local media has totally misrepresented what happened last Thursday down in Boston. This city council, which has been in office for just a little more than a month, at its very first meeting, passed a motion unanimously asking that the city manager and the mayor inform the MSBA of our decision to explore other options. And that motion passed, and as a result of that motion, we had the meeting which was held last Thursday. The motion could have been, the meeting could have been held before that, but I think that was the first available time that the meeting could be held in terms of the MSBA's schedule. So, we had that meeting. There were no votes by this city council on the 5 options that were presented to the MSBA. There were no votes on the swimming pool or anything else. It was billed as a working meeting. We did not meet with the MSBA board itself. We did not meet with the MSBA's subcommittee on facilities itself. We met with several members of the staff at the MSBA, and it was billed as a working meeting by them, and it was attended by myself and Mayor Samaras and Councilor Milanazzo and 5 members of the Lowell School Committee and the city manager and the superintendent of schools and assistant city manager McGovern as well. And at the meeting, we were not shown the door because of the pool. The pool was in each of the 5 because the pool was included in all of the options that the city was dealing with back last spring. And since the school committee went to court over who had jurisdiction over where the high school would go, there's no work that's been done by Skanska or Perkins Eastman or anybody else. Therefore, the 5 options that were presented to the MSBA or sent into the MSBA all included the pool. But they were sent in by the city manager, and then the city council was informed that those 5 options were sent in afterwards, not before, and it was not done, I assume it was done at the request of the MSBA in order that there would be something to discuss, but it was not done at the request of any member of this city council. So those 5 options were in there. They all had a pool. And regarding the pool, I just would point out that last April, the city council received a communication from the MSBA which indicated that the MSBA would not pay for a pool. That was last April. And everybody has known since then that not only would they not pay for the pool, but they would not fund a project that included a pool. So the pool had to come out. Now, we also met with the MSBA in December. And when we met with them in December, when I sat down at the table right before the meeting started, Mr. Bell from Perkins Eastman indicated to me that possibly because we were changing locations from the Colley Stadium to downtown, that the pool might be back in play. And the reason that he thought that was because it was built into the physical ed curriculum that was designed for the high school, and also because we already had a pool there. And Mr. Manager, you'll remember that at that conversation that you also said to Mr. Bell, it was our understanding that there could be no pool. So based on that, at that meeting in December, I asked multiple times about the pool and whether the pool was going to be allowed or not. And probably the second or third time that I asked that question, Mr. McCarthy, the executive director of the MSBA, suggested that we discuss it in January, which I took to mean, let's move on to another subject. And so that's what I did. So there was no discussion, further discussion in December. At the meeting last week, there were several items that were discussed. One was the pool, and right away, the MSBA indicated that they are standing by what they told us back in April, which was that there can be no pool and they will not fund a building or a facility that even includes a pool in it. So it isn't as if you can cut the pool out and pay for it itself. The pool is off the table. Furthermore, they also indicated that they would not fund a project that included a field house. And so some of the discussion was over the field house versus a gym, and even what is the definition of a field house compared to what is the definition of a gym. But they do not fund field houses, and so they will not fund a field house at Lowell High School, no matter where it was going to be. The discussion also included the discussion also included a discussion about the administration and non-educational space that was in the high school and whether or not there was too much of that. And it also included a discussion on eminent domain and what kind of schedule we had to keep on eminent domain in order to keep the project moving forward. All of those things were discussed. None of those things were covered by the local media at all. And all of those things are important questions to know before we can move forward. So the MSBA meeting was an important meeting for us to have, but not an important meeting because we had five options shut down. We're not building 5 high schools or 5 schools. We're building 1. I don't know why anybody would think that we would send down 5 options. But the final thing that was discussed was the timeline and what kind of timeline we were going to have going forward. And I think that is a discussion that's left unanswered, that we should try to, and I think you, Mr. Mayor, and also I think Councilor Milanazzo, were interested in moving up that timeline and trying to get it tightened. And I suspect that every member of the school committee would like to do that as well. But that was not a discussion to have with the MSBA. That's a discussion to have Thursday morning when the building committee will be meeting at 10 o'clock, Mr. Manager?
We sent out a late email tonight. Perkins Eastman is not available Thursday, so it's been rescheduled to next Wednesday was the first day that they were available.
Okay. I just think that the way this has been misrepresented by the media has been not even close. And I would blame part of that on the editor of the newspaper. The editor of the newspaper, from time to time, runs articles on the different beverages that you can make from grapes. But every once in a while, when it comes to the high school, what the editorial is sour grapes. And that was what the editorial was this past week. And the community counts on the newspaper and counts on the radio station to provide them with accurate information. And when they don't even try to be close because they have a certain bias, I think it ends up being very unfair to everybody. But I just think that the record should be set straight, that we are moving forward with the downtown option, option 3, as quickly as possible. And that's where it stands, and that the city of Lowell has not been rebuked. And then finally, I would add that the MSBA did indicate as well or reiterate that Lowell does not have to worry about the funding of its high school. That we're going to be all set. That they're committed to funding our high school once we're all set. Once we've got everything ironed out. And I just think that I'll look forward to your report in response to the motion, but I thought that needed to be brought out now. I'm a little disappointed, Mr. Manager, that you did not correct the media at all, and that the city council has taken the blame, specifically Councilor Samaras and myself. And when we had nothing to do with sending those 5 options in, and maybe didn't even think that it was a good idea to send those 5 options in, but we were not privy to conversations that you had with the MSBA, and so maybe it is that the MSBA asked for those 5 options to be sent in. Thank you.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy did a very good job in summarizing the meeting. I'm going to take it one step further and say that I, too, did not know about the options going in. And quite frankly, Mr. Manager, I have lost faith in your administration. And I, as a city councilor recently elected, can no longer support you and your administration to take on the largest public construction project in the history of the city. I just can't do it. And when I read this editorial and read that Jim Campanini would not recognize an unbiased, honest editorial if it bit him in the behind. I mean, what he did through this editorial. What he did for the entire last year to the members of this city council, the Belvedere councils, as he calls us. And by the way, I wear that as a badge of honor because I really truly believe that the Belvedere councilors and the people that supported the downtown did the right thing for the city of Lowell, and that's why we're now back before the MSBA. But Mr. Manager, I don't have any faith anymore.
Mr. Mayor, it's out of order.
This
The
is
request
out of order.
Not out
The
of
motion
order.
on
It
the
is
floor-
absolutely not out of
The
order.
motion on the floor is to request a report from the city manager. If Council Milonazo and Council Kennedy want to chastise the manager, this is not the
It should have
forum
been, it
to
should have been
do
done
it.
months ago, Councilor Elliott.
Okay, all right.
It should have been done months
let's-
ago.
Council, if you
Stop.
have an issue, put a motion on. This is
Councilor
totally
Mercia,
out of order.
Okay,
as
everybody.
citizen-
Don't even touch me.
Now,
As Citizen Mercia last night, she felt it was okay to bring it up at the planning board meeting, the high school. So please, let's be fair here. I am just saying that I am finished as a supporter of Kevin Murphy's as city manager in this community.
Again, out of order, Mr. Mayor. Totally out of order. If the shoe was on the other foot, Council Mercia, Council Milonazo would be screaming
No
bloody murder.
leadership, there's been no leadership displayed on
Councilman
this.
Milonazo, why don't we desist at this point?
Again, we'll get to the report, but in
Back
my
to the-
opinion, there's been absolutely no leadership, and this is where we find ourselves. And the 14-month delay was not blamed on the people from Belvedere. I beg to differ, and our city editor is obnoxious.
Okay. Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Mercia.
Yeah, back to the motion, Mr. Mayor. There's a process that is set up. And if some members of this council don't want to follow the process, that's what MSBA has set up. We've been following it since day one. And because there is a significant delay, you want to play the blame game, Councilman Milonazo. That's not going to solve the problem. It's easy to do that. But we're following the process. I missed the meeting. I showed up at the wrong time. I'm disappointed that I did. That's my mistake. That being said, the motion is for a report. We'd like to get a report. And I think the manager's been very good in outlining what the steps are per the school building authority. We've received multiple emails, almost daily emails, on what is required. And we're going to follow those steps, and I believe that we are. I mean, because there is the delay, that's just part of the process. People put it on the ballot. The question was raised. We've taken votes to move forward. No one's dragging our feet, in my opinion. So the motion is for a report. I think it's a good motion to satisfy what the requirements are and moving forward. And the good news is that we are going to get a high school. How we get there, what the cost is, what the process is, it is important that we follow it.
Okay. Councilor Mercia, then Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really resent the fact about blaming the delay on this last meeting with the MSBA, but the fact remains that on June 20th, 5 city councilors voted Colley, and that created a delay when it was a suit from the school committee, getting petitions and putting something on a ballot and getting a ruling from a judge that said that it was us, the city council, that should make the decision. I just don't like throwing blame around. I'm sorry that everybody's upset because the MSBA said something they reiterated from months ago, saying we're not supporting a pool, we're not supporting a building that houses the pool. And finally, I have the full respect and support of our city manager, who I think is doing a great job. I don't think he's responsible for a delay. Let's figure out where it came from months ago.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion has nothing to do with a delay. And there were only 3 councilors that were there, so there's only 3 councilors that really know what happened at the meeting. Other people are depending on the media for their information, which I think is the reason that the maker of the motion put the motion in the first place. So let me just ask regarding the motion, why, Mr. Manager, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, why did we send those 5 options in? Why did you do that?
The MSBA requested our consultants to provide the various downtown options that were available for review.
And those 5 options all included a swimming pool, and they all included a field house. And the field house I didn't know about until the meeting. I didn't know that they weren't funded field house. But Skanska did, and Perkins Eastman did. And so why did they send the 5 options in just as they are? And when I say just as they are, the 5 options that they sent in also indicated for option 3 that it was going to require some modular classrooms. Long ago, we've ironed out that option 3 would not require any modular classrooms, and yet that was part of what they sent in. Why would they do that if, when they know that those 5 options that they sent in were stale at best?
Because as you had said earlier, is that once the hiatus was put on by the MSBA, is they stopped any work on the options whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they didn't do any changes to them whatsoever.
Okay. I can understand that, but I also think that you have a responsibility to look at what they're doing. So when they're sending the 5 options in, and you sent the 5 options to every member of the city council, they didn't, you did, which meant that you were able to review them and talk to them about that. And I would think that at least it's not a big deal for them just to go in and touch up those 5 options. It probably was like 10 minutes for them to do that, right? You just go into the computer, you change it around, and boom, you're all set. But they didn't even bother to do that. They just sent the 5 options that we all looked at when we got them back in February or March. What do you think about that? Does that make you upset?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've expressed this upsetness. And, I've been upset in the past about it.
And they are also asking for additional money, is that correct?
That's correct. We're negotiating with them right now.
Okay, and do you know how much money it will be?
Around $400,000 for Perkins and Eastman is what they've requested. That's just for their fee.
What about Skanska?
Another $100,000, $150,000 for Skanska.
So what's that, another $600,000?
Yeah, and then there's a consultant fee of about $150,000 that's in there also.
Who's that for?
They have to, that's for scanning. It has to scan the high school, the existing footprint, to get all the dimensions of the existing facility.
Okay. They don't include that in their fee? Okay.
We're negotiating with them now relative to the fee.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Conway, and then Ms. Malice, and then Councilor Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. During the campaign, there was a tremendous amount of frustration that took place. And I think that it's been addressed tonight, on the floor. As you can see, individuals debating this, upset in so many different, not just here, but the neighborhoods in the entire city. This can be traced back to, which again has been mentioned a number of times, back to the media. For the last year, the media has constantly clouded the issue and constantly tried to put a divide. And they were pretty successful in that. However, going forward, I think that this present council has made it perfectly clear the direction that they wanted to go, we wanted to go in as far as the high school is concerned. I think I've been sitting in this chair now for about a month, and I think we've mentioned it 2 or 3 different times. Downtown option 3. This is not, I don't know how much clearer it can be made. The question I have right now, and again, I think that there's a lot of frustration on why it's taken so long. Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, to the city manager, how long would it take to get this report? Would it be available next week?
Yes.
Okay, and I think, again, this is what we have to do, is stay right on top of it. I think the whole idea of argument between each other is not going to be very fruitful at this point. We need to keep our eye on the goal, and that is to get a new high school and get this thing done. So I think that by bringing that report forward, I would like to certainly see that that this council moves as fast as we can on this and get this project going for the city and also all the students that certainly will be very happy with the new high school. Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, to the city manager, the school building commission that was supposed to be Thursday, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, how would people have known that that was taking place? Is it out? I should say, let me rephrase that, strike that. Who did you invite to that?
We invite the school, members of the school building committee. We notify the city council. I believe we notify do we notify the school? The superintendent is on it, and it's posted, it's publicly noted, it's a public meeting, so it's publicly noticed. And
When you say publicly noticed, is it would it be on the website?
yes,
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the change is concerned, it's going to be, what'd you say, what day is it going to be now?
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, all right. So all those parties that you just said will be invited to this, plus it'll be on our website also?
Yes, that was done tonight.
Okay, all right. Again, I think that, I think we're all looking forward to that report next week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you.
Conway. Ms. Maris, and then Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through the vice mayor to the city manager. One of the things, Councilor Kennedy basically was responding to the editorial, and we shouldn't, in a sense, but that editorial was so far off, so misguided. And what former Mayor Kennedy did was give an excellent outline as to what transpired in the recent meeting last Thursday and what transpired in December prior to the beginning of the new city council. The issue that I see here and my concerns are, number one, I don't like the fact that Perkins Eastman is not available for tomorrow. I mean, we were planning this meeting a while back that it would be on this day, and they're not available. What really bothered me in the last meeting that we had with the MSBA, this is what I heard from Skanska. I heard, let's not have any angst about this. We'll start the process all over again, just like we did before. We'll go out into the community. When they went out into the community, they gave so much misinformation. This has led to a lot of the problems that we have, you facing as a city manager, we are facing as a city council. Misinformation, no information. When they went into schools, if the PA system didn't work, they said, well, can you hear me yell? If the overheads didn't work, well, try to see this picture. No handouts, nothing. That's why I've asked that your administration be part of this next presentation. What I heard from Perkins, the issue of the swimming pool really bothers me, and I'm going to bring it up time and time at this next meeting until I get a reasonable answer. The MSBA has been very clear for years, they don't do pools. Now, I heard so much information from Perkins that they thought they could negotiate. I said to myself, well, I haven't been in the school department for a number of years. I haven't reviewed the MSBA rulings. I'm not an expert in that. There must be certain nuances that they know that they could opt for a swimming pool. When we went down there this past Thursday, what did they say? Absolutely no. Now, I knew that, you knew that, everybody knew that. But Perkins Eastman was constantly presenting that they could negotiate a pool. They've wasted a year of our time. I mean, when we talk about wasting time, I mean, I blame them. I think we seriously have to look at Skanska and Perkins Eastman. They come with great recommendations. I was part of the team that selected them. We selected them based on work that they've accomplished in other communities. You know that, Mr. Manager. But the question is sometimes you get the A team, the B team, and the C team. There's different teams that come in. I don't know what team we have at this particular point. But all I know is that if we don't have some type of wake-up meeting with this group, we're going to be at each other's throats because it's just such poor information, such information that's under constant change. If you recall before, why did this problem start coming up between Cawley and the downtown people? It was because you heard a price. What did I have with option 3 2 days before the election or the selection of the thing? Perkins comes in, well, we made a $10 million mistake. You know, these are big numbers. $1 million mistake I can live with, I guess. But a $10 million mistake? So the question is, what position are they playing? What are they doing? What direction are they giving us? And I think if we don't resolve this, if we don't sit down, and I thought it was going to be Thursday, I am upset that they're not available. To me, it states they're not serious about us at this point. Because knowing with what's going on, I think they would have been willing. So now we have another, basically 7 days before we can sit down and articulate our concerns and our needs. And what happens, it's just going to create more frustration, probably get more silly editorials, and I use the terms I don't like to. I've talked to Mr. Campanini. I think, you know, I would like to, when you're doing a project like that, you know what? The paper can disagree, but at the same time, it should be working with us to build this school. We have one chance in our lifetime as this group to take care of the students of Lowell. They deserve it. We need this high school, and I don't want to be part of something in which it falls apart. So I'm just stating that Councilor Kennedy was right on in his description of what we heard and what we saw. But I just wanted to add what I heard at that meeting by Perkins and by Skanska. Again, we're going to start the same old, same old. That's all I heard. No, we're not going to do anything better. And with Perkins, misinformation. And this idea about the pool is, I mean, because there is no, I checked after this, there's nothing in the regulations that states that they might even think about a pool. And you know, the only issue that they would do is with our present gymnasium, where it has a pool, there could be some accommodations, but not with any type of new buildings or what have you. So it's our concern. So, Mr. Manager, I mean, I don't know if you could change the meeting back to Thursday, or, you know, what we can do to speed this up. That's what I'm asking you. We need this from you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. With this motion, what I want to do is get the update, which we got tonight, but where we're going to go from here. And everybody's mentioning the pool. The pool seemed to me like it was a surprise. Then they said they were going to negotiate and do the building over the pool. Then they couldn't. So as far as I'm concerned, they should have known what they were doing, where they were leading us, and with their expertise, what type of school they could help us design here in the city. Somebody mentioned tonight about the field house. That's the first I've heard of that. So, I mean, basically a field house is a gymnasium which has, you know, a weight room and locker rooms and things like that. The pool's included, but it doesn't have to have a pool. It just, you know, a field house and a gymnasium today, in my opinion, are the same thing. So I don't know if there's a question about a field house today now. But I do agree that I think this team that came into Lowell, they were highly recommended, and supposedly they had a good track record. They should be telling us what is accepted and what isn't, for sure. And we shouldn't have wasted time on that. And for them to have the gall to submit more bills, which I know you're going to negotiate, because I'm sure you're as mad as we are about that, and I know you'll do a good job negotiating that to basically zero. You know, they've got to own up to some of this too, and they've got to come back and say, this is where we should be going. This is the design. For example, for option 3 right now, this is the changes we're going to make because there is no pool, and make recommendations on an education plan with the city and the superintendent of schools. So That's where I'm looking. We can't keep wasting our time blaming and being disappointed about the time that has gone by. We need to move forward now, and we need to come up with a good, solid plan to build the high school, whatever that high school looks like now. And and option 3 has always been on the table. We need a starting point for downtown, and that's the doctor's office. So what is the plan gonna look like now? Where do we go from here? And that's what we should be focusing on. You know, let's just move forward and let's go ahead with this, you know? And I'm not even gonna mention the paper, but, you know, we've all been here a long time. If the paper's gonna bother us that much, then, you know, that's the way it is. So let's just move forward. We're supposed to be leaders here for the school, for the community. Let's move ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy, Councilor Elliott, Councilor Cirillo, and then Councilor Kennedy.
I think Council Searles had her hand up
Councilor
for a
Cirillo,
while.
go ahead.
Sorry, thank you.
You have the floor.
I'm going to just piggyback on Mayor Samaras. I'm wondering about the dedicated team that was in Skanska and Perkins Eastman's original construction proposal, because in that proposal, they should have supplied the team that would be working on this project along with resumes. Now, I would like to know, when you have met with Perkins Eastman and Skanska, have you met with those specific members on the team that were in the original proposals that you have their resumes for?
Through you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yes, Councilor. So the group that was represented when we first went through the RFP process with Perkins Eastman is still the same group that's intact right now. In terms of Thursday's meeting, once the project was put on hiatus, a number of those, all of those members were put on to different projects. And unfortunately, we had scheduled or tried to schedule the meeting for this coming Thursday last Friday, but unfortunately, they could not get out of their commitments.
Okay, so are Skanska and Perkins Eastman going to supply us with new resumes of the new people that they are putting on this project?
I'm sorry, it's the same team that, moving forward here, it's the same team that would be dealing with in the past. So you have on
I
Skanska.
thought you said that they were put on different projects.
I'm sorry, that's to why they could not make Thursday's meeting. That group the entire group will be intact. So with Skanska, you have 3 primaries, which Dale Caldwell, Mary Ann Williams, and Jim Dowd. And then with Perkins Eastman, you have Joe Drown as the principal. You have Bob Bell, who's been mentioned a number of times tonight. You also have Alicia Caratano, and then Don Gurriello, and those are the 4 primaries for Perkins.
Okay, and I'm curious also as to, are the original proposals online so that we can look at them?
I don't believe so, but we could post those. Those were all part. We could post the contracts that we have with them.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cirillo. Councilor Elliott.
So the options that we entertained before had the pool. They all had the pool, right? Option 3 had the pool.
Yes, it did, Councilor.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the confusion is. If we have members here saying we are for option 3, and option 3 included the pool, then what is the issue here? That they wanted options. Skanska, Perkins, Eastman sent down options with a pool in it because that's what people are saying. So they're being given those options, which is exactly what is being stated here. Now that there's a $10 million price tag, I get it. I mean, to my understanding, people were in favor of the pool for the year and a half that we went through this, including, you know, the former headmaster. I mean, naturally, why would you not entertain a pool for a brand-new high school? So I'm a little confused as to the mixed signal that we're sending down options, including a pool, when that's what is being stated here. So I think we need to just continue to move forward with the process. It's 14 months behind because the option was changed. It's starting from square one. It's going to cost more money because that's what has been put forward. We took a vote in June. We followed the rules, and we're still following the rules. So I'm confused why there are pointing of fingers of options now that we know that it's not. I mean, and we knew it was going to be not reimbursed unless it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, unless it's a renovated pool. They are not going to pay for a new pool. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we know all this information moving forward. I think there's a lot of, I'm not sure what's going on, but to me, it's been very clear. And option 3 includes a pool, so it's a $10 million price tag. Now, whether that discussion needs to take place now or in the future, perhaps that's the meeting, should be discussed at the next school building committee. And it's a decision that has to be made. So I just think moving forward, the blame game doesn't work. We knew what we're asking for, option 3, and it included the pool. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott, Councilor Kennedy, and Councilor Malinazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not blaming anybody here, nor am I arguing with anybody that's here. What I'm disappointed in is the coverage that this meeting received, because it was total misrepresentation. For instance, and this is a perfect example, Councilor Elliott just mentioned that the pool is going to cost $10 million. Nobody ever said the pool was going to cost $10 million. That was in the paper, but nobody talked about the pool costing $10 million at the MSBA meeting at all. Nobody knows how much the pool would cost. And any estimate is just that, just a wild estimate without any calculation or anything else, just a perfect guess, and that's it. And it's that type of information that I think is unfair, not just to the city council, but to everybody in Lowell, because it's just bad information. I am concerned about about Skanska and Perkins Eastman. Like, when did they find out that they could not go to the meeting on Thursday?
I did that. We had some discussions with them. I started my discussions with Perkins on Monday, actually, and it had been going back and forth.
They like yesterday?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So the email went out on Friday, Counselor, and I started. I spoke with Skanska. Skanska was all set to attend. Unfortunately, Joe Drown, I was talking with him from Perkins and Eastman. They were trying to get out of their obligations that they've had for a number of months for these different meetings. Bob Bell is on a project in Ipswich that he'd had a prior commitment. Alicia Caratano is involved with the medical building in Boston. So they could not free up, not one of their members could come of that team.
Did you send out an email today indicating that the meeting wouldn't be held this Thursday?
An email today that with the
Did you notify, has the building committee been notified that there's no meeting on Thursday?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Yes, so we sent out, when we confirmed that, it was later this afternoon, we sent out an email to the councilors, the SBC, saying the meeting has been canceled for Thursday and that we're going to reschedule for Wednesday at 10 a.m. of next. Not tomorrow, Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Yes, correct.
Okay. It might be a good idea going forward after next Wednesday's meeting to hold the meetings in the evening rather than during the day. People have to make arrangements in order to attend these meetings during the day. And then to cancel a meeting like that means that sometimes you have to do that and make new arrangements. Whereas I think for a lot of people and just for the general public, an evening meeting would be easier for everybody. So that's just something to think about going forward. I think that for me, we're just taking option 3, which has been pretty much developed, and taking out the pool, which we were told is about 8,000 square feet. Now, the facility is about 620,000 square feet. We're taking out 8,000 square feet to do away with the pool. To me, you just take out the pool, go with option 3, and that's it. I'm not sure, I don't understand why that has to cost another $600,000, and I'm not sure why that has to take a long period of time to complete. Now, Granted, maybe I'm oversimplifying the thing, maybe it's a lot more complicated than that, and I just don't understand that. However, that seems to me that as far as option 3 goes, that's really all we're doing, is taking out the 8,000 square feet that was dedicated to the swimming pool, period. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Malinazzo.
Thank you, Mr.
and,
Vice Chair.
Mr. Maris. Go ahead.
At the meeting, they did throw out a number for the pool, and it was $4.7 million, if you recall, not $10 million that was reported. But again, we're removing the pool. As it relates to the gymnasium or the field house, the issue there is the square footage. It's right now being designed at 26,000 square feet. MSBA will only reimburse for up to 18,000 square feet. However, there was some wiggle room there because of the 3,500 student population, and they indicated they might be able to put a wall between the 18,000 square foot field house and the balance of another 8,000 square feet. So I think we're going to be okay with the field house. Again, I come back to the process. I'm very disappointed to hear that the meeting's not taking place, even after notices had gone out. I'm getting calls from people that the website hasn't been updated in many months, and some would say that the reason it hasn't been updated because there's been nothing happening. But things have been happening, and I'm just hoping that from the community process standpoint, that we're going to go through that process again. And as Councilor Kennedy said, we should have some of those meetings at night. Mary Ann from Skanska talked about we're starting over again. We're not starting over again. So I hope, Mr. Manager, you know, when you do negotiate with them, that you bring that to them clearly, that we're not starting over again, that we did for a few months wait for the vote to take place in November. But at the end of the day, again, my opinion, any blame that we want to put on Skanska and Perkins Eastman really rests with the manager's office. Because again, at the end of the day, you are the one in charge of this project. So again, a lot of frustration. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get things back on track. But again, not getting fair reporting is something not new to this council, and some of us, I guess, don't care. But at the end of the day, to come back and get a bunch of emails from people saying what's going on, and to add an option, because the process was that the options would all be vetted by the school building committee and the city council. That didn't happen. I understand why, because it was a working meeting. But there was a new build option 5 there that, unless I'm wrong, I'm not sure was ever in any option that was before us at the high school site. The new build option 5 at the corner of Arcan and Father Morissette. But again, very disappointed that the meeting's being put off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Malinazzo, Ms. Maris, and Councilor Cirillo, and Councilor Murcia.
Well,
Can I get to you next?
I just want to know why this previous speaker just looked at me when he said, and some of them don't care. You weren't referring to me, right? Oh, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murcia. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
No, the thing is, Mr. Manager, this probably was something coming in the sense of the frustration. You're going through the frustration, we're going through the frustration, and we go into a meeting that was less than successful. When we talk about the media, we've been talking about the media, we actually shouldn't. But the thing is, if you take a basic course in administration, you know that one thing it'll say, work with the media. I mean, any successful organization, especially government, has to do that. But the information has been so, the spinning that goes on, it's out of control. The thing that I expected from Perkins Eastman and Skanska, they are the experts, not us as city councilors, not you as the administration. You're the experts in administration. We're the political forces. But we depend on them for the right information. So what I'm saying from the outset, the issue of the pool should have been taken care of over a year ago. That really bothers me. And how Skanska especially went about in the community, and how much misinformation. Remember, we'd have motion after motion to you to say, play catch-up. I mean, now we need modules. We need 30 modules for this project, next project, same project, you don't need the 30 modules. So what was happening, our credibility has been destroyed in the sense out in the community. And we value that as you value yours. I mean, we want our credibility. I mean, can we make mistakes? We make mistakes every day. and that's about, but we're in a serious game at this particular point. And what we need from you, what I want to see from you is, we've got to hold their feet to the fire. We've allowed them, to enter into type of negotiations that don't make sense. The paper, I'll use the paper again, it said, don't blame the experts. But they are the experts, and I'll keep repeating. They should have been giving you the information to forward to us, so we would plan accordingly. Now, as far as the pool is concerned, we want to go option 3. Knowing that the pool is an addition, that can be something that we can vote on down the road. What we want to look at is the entire project. So, Mr. Manager, I'll go back to what am I looking for? Correct information from Perkins East and Skankska. I'm looking for you not allowing Skankska to do the going out to the community, that your administration, as you've said, will have more to do with ensuring that the proper information, or the best information that we have, goes out into the community. With that, and then what we want is a timeline, a review of the timeline to see what can be done. The whole issue is, we've talked about, all of us here have talked, I've talked, everybody's talked about, our role is very important to try to bring the community back. Here we are tonight, having a little upset. But the thing is, it's something, I guess you could use it like a correction in the market. We've been going through a lot, and all of a sudden, we don't have all the answers we want, and we get frustrated because we're getting hit by so many sides. I know you're getting hit, I'm getting hit, everybody's getting hit. But with that said, our effort, if we can put this back in line, if we can line up the timing the way it should, we should be able to go out into the community, work with the community, and start the healing. Because, Mr. Manager, I would say that you have 2 major issues to help us on. One is ensuring that we get the leadership from Perkins, Eastman, and Skanksa that we deserve. That's one. The second is helping to work into bringing this community together and using and going with us to any resource that we need to bring this community together. And I think what will bring this community together is the right type of discussions and, some type of forward momentum that makes sense at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maris. Councilor Cirillo?
Hi,
Ms.
yes.
Maris, could you, Ms. Maris? Go ahead, Councilor.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering, who is on the school building committee? Are there other offices, like, for example, the DPD? Is there someone from the DPD assigned to this project to help give their input? Different offices here in the city that can possibly give their really very valuable input. For example, like Nick Bossonetto, is there someone from the DPD on the school building committee that can help give some valuable input? I'm just wondering.
Nick Bossonetto, as a matter of fact, would be the first thing on the next agenda is to appoint new members, and Nick Bossonetto is one of the new members. But there's members from the city departments, nobody from DPD, but there's members of the school department, and there's members of the community on the committee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mayor Samaras. I share everyone here frustration. I know we knew about it since last year, right? There's no pool, period. And yet, Perkins and Skanka submit the 5 option with pool to MSBA, knowing quite well that they said it last year. That's disappointing. It's frustrated, the process that lead to all this delay. I also agree that the back and forth would not do us any good. We need to,
put together a united front and move this process forward. We will have the high school because MSBA said so, despite the media just ignore them. If we let that bother us and we're picking on each other, it's not going to do us any good. So put together a united front, move forward with the right information and making sure that Perkins and Skanka do their job. That's what they hired to do. And I think, with the manager negotiation with them down the road next week or week after, we need to make sure that they understand that they're also responsible for this delay and not just coming more money. They have to own to that, some of that responsibility. And that's how I feel. And that's what the manager, I urge the manager to do that and to make sure that whatever amount they ask for, minimal of it were given to them because they are too at fault in submitting things that MSBA told them from the start. I understand that, the meeting going really well, right? Until the motion, I know something's going to come up. And it's rightfully so, because this is a very hot topic. The voter expect us to move this process forward. And we can't do that if we pull together. I think we can do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you. Move the question.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Ayes have it. You want a roll call?
No, just move the question.
Motion accepted. Next motion from Mr. Councilor Conway, require city manager to work with DCR to install appropriate signage at the entrance to Trotting Park Road, directing forest visitors to the parking area. Councilor. Seconded by Councilor Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we're going to make this one simple. I think the motion speaks for itself.
Motion adopted. Thank you. Any announcements?
Mr. Mayor, before we conclude, I would like to request suspension of the rules in order to offer a non-controversial motion regarding learning cities. So if there's no objection, if we could do that by general consent, I would like to.
Second. Thank you. Second by Councilor Kennedy.
I would like to move that the City Council Subcommittee on Educational Partnerships explore the possible designation of Lowell as a global learning city, as recognized by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
Okay. So moved. Thank you. Second by?
Second.
By Councilor Elliott. Motion accepted. Councilor Mercia?
You're all set. Well, I'd like to end on a positive note and say that the Friends of the Council on Aging they meet on the last Friday in every month. And at the end of January, we got the end of the year report of all the things that the Friends of the Council on Aging has appropriated so that it doesn't go on the budget, does not burden the taxpayers, but we function very well there. And Jackie Dennison, our treasurer, gave us the report. And I'd like to say that Claire Broder is a secretary. Ray Rhodes is a member of the board of directors. Lenny Genrin, Doris Santos, Joe Dussault, Dr. Joe Downs is the vice president, and Arthur Tupin and Michelle Ramallo, they come on board every meeting. And I just want to say that we follow the rules very well. We pay Comcast for them, for the TV. We pay the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a nonprofit report, that's $35. We bought a new vacuum cleaner, $236. Kitchen inspection, we pay for the kitchen inspection there, $1,039. We pay for the postage, $2,000. We have office supplies for the center. We pay the insurance for the van, $3,487. And the reason that we did it is because it's independent of the city, where if it was insured by the city, or the city had any interest in that, we could only fit one driver. Sometimes our driver needs help loading and unloading things, so by us insuring it, he can fit another person in there. We pay the Mass Lottery 5% of the top to the state. That was $1,136. We have to pay for a raffle permit. We paid for the Linus Project, which is the women that do the knitting. They knit and crochet blankets for the Lowell Police Department to give to people, the children who are experienced domestic violence that we don't probably even think about. We paid for the senior outing, $708. We had a dishwasher repair of $1,523. We had a coffee urn repair. So it's very, very expensive what is done. So to the tune of $15,821.73. The city did not have to pay it. A group of people get together, they raise funds for the senior center, so the taxpayer doesn't have to pay that, and life goes on at the center, and we take care of all the repairs. Let me just say that 3 members of our board, 2 live in Tewksbury, and 1 lives in Dracut, and yet they have the love for the city, because this is where they came from originally, and they give of their self to the city of Lowell. I just wanted to say this because I think it's that important, that people, everyday people come together to make sure that that center is running, functioning properly. So I just wanted to give accolades to the people that don't look for any accolades at all, and I think they deserve it, because they're making life better for our seniors, and I thought it was worth the report. So thank you for letting me say this. Thank you.
Do you think you should bring them before the board?
What board?
Bring this board here for acknowledgement for their work?
Oh, that would be nice.
I mean, that's.
Oh, thank you
that's a
so
great-
much.
that's a great
Oh,
savings
that
for
would
the
be wonderful. Thank you so much, yes.
Thank you.
Just one other thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Leahy.
Just wanted to recognize George Duncan and the Enterprise Bank team. It's been 30 years yesterday. George is a great partner to the city and a great businessman, has one of the better places to work, and his dedication to the city. So congratulations on 30 years.
Oh, I
we
give him a
send-
round
should-
of applause for that. All right, very good, thank you.
Joe, send him a letter from the mayor's.
Should the manager send a letter for us?
Sure, from the
Mr.
council.
Manager,
and
would you
the-
mind?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? Second, okay. By Council Kennedy, second by Council Noon.